One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, transforming, amazing planet of ours, this healing planet of ours. I'm Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here for another Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, where we're here every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 30-minute inspirational show filled with encouragement, motivations, get you thinking outside the box, maybe get you living again, maybe get you inspired. I always like to say, be inspired, inspire others, inspire before we expire. I am here in Seattle, Washington, beautiful Pacific Northwest. The sun is out. It's going to be a great week in the 70s. So take advantage of the sun. I actually had to pull my blinds down because the sun was coming in so strong. So how are you doing this morning? Grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's move into what I like to call the magic of the moment. If you want to learn more about the work I do here in Seattle or online or my radio show or my articles or my meditations or my YouTube channel, just go over to marclainhart.com, click on the description in this field. You'll get all the links, but that's your best place to go for upcoming events. My next show, which is this Wisdom Wednesday, going to have a really well-known spiritual guru on. So you'll have to tune into that. And I'm happy to announce my show has been picked up by some major platforms for podcast channels. So if you follow Spotify or Google Podcasts or Podchaser or Podcast Addict, the Inspired Living Radio has now been picked up by about 6 or 7 different streaming platforms, which is very humbling and very exciting to reach more people. And of course, you can always find us through Om Times Radio. It is an internet show, so it broadcasts through the internet. You can listen to the show from anywhere around the world on any device. No memberships, no password, no username, none of that stuff. And we're also, of course, streaming through the main channels: iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Podbean, and Om Times Radio is where you can go catch the main player, global player. So this morning, when I was making my coffee, if you're new to the show, how this works is I meditate. I don't have a script or any planning for my shows. And I come on Monday mornings just to kind of tune into what society's doing, see what the world is feeling like to me this week and what's going on. And this morning, I wanted to talk about spirituality and physics. So a lot of times we talk about spiritualism, which is a form of religion. But for spiritualism, one of the things that really caught my mind, what caught my attention when it came to spiritualism, is I was raised Catholic. So I'm confirmed Catholic in the church, raised in that religion. I don't practice that religion anymore because I moved more to a spiritual pathway. For me, spiritualism is more about connecting to the divine, the God source myself without having to go through somebody else. And there's different religions around the world. However you were raised, where you're raised in the world has a lot to do. So I always challenge people to find what's right for you, whether it's religion, whether it's no religion. I know some people that follow my work are full-blown atheists or agnostics, want proof of God or have no belief in God. And that's fine, because that's part of our free will and choice, why we're here on the planet. But what I loved about spiritualism is spiritualism works a lot. I'm a certified, or I'm a full member of the Spiritual National Union in England. I'm working on my accreditations right now for what I do. And one thing I love about spirituality and being a spiritualist is they really connect with science. So science and spiritualism are always working on behalf of each other to discover and to explain and to debate and to philosophize what it is that we do, whether it's psychic, whether it's mediumship, whether it's healing, whether it's transformation of your life and your mind and consciousness. And that has been really eye-opening and wonderful to be a part of, is spirituality and science. And today I was going to talk about physics, because we always like to say, for those of us that are a little bit ahead of the curve and can see things coming, spiritualism is what physics has yet to discover, is what I like to say. So what I do for the show is I get my coffee, I pour my hemp milk creamer in, and it creates a little picture. And today, when I saw what looked like a spiral or universe, it kind of reminded me of the universe up in the sky, the Milky Way, the universal spiral. And that got me thinking about spiritualism. It got me thinking about science, because I came to this work as a psychic, as a medium, through near-death experience and a lot of trauma and tragedy, which rewired my brain, which we call neuroplasticity. And through that, I still have kept my science side, my logic side, my analytical side, which is my left brain. So I'm always kind of challenging myself, like, is this real? Is this fake? I can tell you 100% it's real. With the thousands of readings I've done, and the transformations and healing that those readings have brought from the other side, the etheric world, the spirit world, heaven, whatever your belief system is. So I know there's something to it, but I don't ever stop there, you guys. I continue to prospect as the intuitive prospector to go deeper in my journey. And one of the things that really caught my attention this week was a lot of people, if you don't follow my Soul Adventures page on Facebook, I highly recommend that you do that, because I'm always posting very cool stuff, whether it's space, medicine, science, this pandemic. And one of the things that was discovered is really a moment where physicists have been working on different matter, different particles of energy, if you will. And we talk about the unseen forces of nature, like gravity, for example. If you want to test gravity, then jump off a 3-story building and you realize that gravity is real, right? So scientists found evidence of what they're calling the fifth force of nature. And what that does is when you start to discover new particles, new electrons, new super light particles called neutrinos, and you expose those to the magnetic field, which is here on Earth, what happens is you start to see, science fiction and theories start to turn into science fact. And what this model that they have been working on for years now, it really was a watershed moment in the fact that it's bringing forth a new field of potentially new laws in physics. And so right now, we have to abide by the laws of physics and how we understand physics. But as we move forward, physics tends to change, right? When the apple fell on Newton's head and he realized gravity, that we were on a planet full of gravity. Spiritualism and spirituality, psychic and mediumship, is not always seen here with the physical eye. Now, some people do see with their physical eyes and their their actual vision. But a lot of us that do this work see in different modalities. We see through clairvoyance. We see and feel through clairsentience, clairaudience. There's many clairs. There's 6 clairs specifically that we work with in spirituality. It's kind of like having a microscope or like having a telescope connected to your body is how I would describe that. And when I first started to come into this, I really started to look, I went to several places: Berkeley Psychic Institute, the Omega Institute in upstate New York, the Arthur Findlay College in England, trying to understand and realize if this was real and if there was something to it. And over a decade later, there's a lot to it. And so I always try to bring some science into this. I always try to bring physics into this, as how we abide by the laws of physics here on the physical planet of Earth. But what this new breakthrough of this force, if you will, this 5th force that scientists have discovered, it creates a new future for physics, new particles, and a new force which we have not seen to date. So it's exciting. It's you guys know that I'm a big Star Wars guy, and if the posters behind me don't give it away, or the lightsabers mounted on the posters, or my Jedi badge right here, that's a Jedi badge actually, or my coffee cup, you guys know that I've always believed in the Force ever since I was a little kid, something that binds us and connects us all together. And we are all connected. We're one people, we're one planet. We look different, we have different upbringings, we have different behaviors and different cultures. But at the end of the day, we're one planet, we're one people, and we need to act according to that. And spirituality is going to help us get there. I talked with some of my predictions this year, the great coming together. I wasn't sure why I was seeing this great coming together. And now I do, because we realized in order to get past COVID, we're going to have to come together. COVID wants people, and when people are divided, you have some people that wear masks and some people that don't. It's going to continue to thrive and survive. And so now I realize what I was seeing last year, like, why am I keep seeing this great coming together for people? Because at the end of the day, that is the only way we're going to get past this pandemic. We're going to get past COVID, not to politicize wearing masks, not to politicize, because everybody's really good at politicizing this pandemic. But at the end of the day, the COVID virus doesn't care who you support or what you stand for. It just wants a body. It wants a host. So the great coming together now makes sense in the fact that we're all going to have to come together and get on the same page and follow science, not what you see on cable news or what you see on a YouTube video, and come together to eradicate COVID. The vaccinations are helping for sure, but there's a lot of science behind this as well. And I'm sure somebody will post something on this show or say something about being an anti-vaxxer, which is no different than the shots we took when we were children. From if you were alive in the 30s, it was polio, smallpox. What else? I got my tetanus shot. What's another big one? Chicken pox. I mean, and these viruses that are out there will continue to have variation, but science is, ever since we've discovered the genetic code and the sequence of genetic codes, it helps us to create vaccinations. So there's a lot of science behind what's going on out there. But of course, people are always going to choose, there's going to choose people that lack compassion and choose conspiracy. And there's those of us that follow science and the history of what history has taught us from our history past. And these vaccinations show I follow a lot of the science and the data, and get vaccinated, wear your mask, social distance, and eventually this COVID will eradicate itself and actually disappear, just like the great influenza flu of 1918. After 2 years, it finally did disappear. So herd immunity and coming together to get past this pandemic. So this pandemic has caused havoc on a lot of people, a lot of lives. It's transformed us. It's created the digital transformation that we're all going into, whether you work from home like I have the last year. Haven't stepped foot in my office in over a year, so that's a paradigm shift. But at the same time, we're looking at our roaring 20s with new discoveries, and that's including physics and spirituality. As we move into space, we're going to have the first tourists go into space. One is right just north of me, up in Everett. His buddy who won in the lottery couldn't muster the flight, so he gave it to his friends. So we've got even a local person that's going to go up into space for, I think, 2 or 3 days and just kind of have an observation in the capsule and float around the planet. How cool is that? We have a rover on Mars that's about to deploy its first helicopter drone. We're going to actually get to see a different planet from an aerial view. How cool is that? And what I love about spiritualism is, Albert Einstein talked a lot about energy and spiritualism and the laws of physics and how we connect in the physical world and the unseen world. And he talked about the intuitive mind as a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. And the way that I always described it as, the intuitive mind is the right side of the hemisphere of the brain. The rational mind is the left side of the brain, which is your logic, your analytics, your ego. A lot of that's on the left side. But he says, we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. And so today I want to remind you to, honor the servant, honor your logical mind, your skeptical mind. I think it's always healthy to be skeptical of the work any psychic or medium does. But then you start to see some of the evidence, the storytelling, the reunions that take place, and the healing and the transformation that can take place. And you realize, wow, there is something to this. There is something that is not always seen, but it is always around us. And so, like I said, I always think of spiritualism as already knowing what physics has yet to discover. And like I said, this watershed moment of discovering this fifth force, if you will, that goes along with gravity and the other theories, if we have, or hypotheses. But now we have one where it's literally called this fifth force of nature, which allows this unseen force to get these murons or particles to vibrate in a different way. And that's something that they've never seen before. So as we move forward and discover new things, I mean, go back to even thinking about the remote control. I think about when I was growing up, I had to get up off the couch and go turn the channel, to whatever channel with the click of the box. And then, the internet is less than 25 years old. The remote control is less than 20 years old. And now we have a remote control where we can even do it from our phone. I mean, I played a game with our friends this weekend that streamed through our TV, and we ran the controls were literally our phone controlling how we played. It was actually a lot of fun, but it just shows you where we're going for technology and how science and spiritualism actually work together. And I love to see that, because if you go back from history past, spiritualism or religion and science usually were at a standoff. They didn't correspond well together. Religion would look at science as science would discover something, and that would be from the devil, or that would be nefarious or witchcraft. And we've logically have grown and evolved since those days of the medieval times, right? 1500s. But at the same time, that's why I became a spiritualist, because I'm always pushing the limits, always trying to discover and explore and prospect for what is not seen, and sometimes only felt, or sometimes only known. And I think it's an exciting time. I think the roaring 20s for us, even though we started off rough in 2020 with this pandemic, and the amount of people that have passed over around the world, including here in the United States, a lot of this could have been avoided, unfortunately. But it shows you what, there's an old saying, ignorance is easy. And there's a lot of that out there, especially through social media and cable news channels. And, start to educate yourself, start to, learn about something that you don't necessarily understand. Or if you see something and your intuition goes, well, that doesn't sound right, go research it further, go to the library, use the internet, talk to people that are experts in the field, whatever field that is. But I think it's going to be an exciting time for where we're going with science, with technology, with robotics, with space exploration, with first contact. I know a lot of you that follow my work. Some people, I always say some people call me crazy, other people call me for advice. But less than 60 days, the Pentagon is going to have to release information of what they know about UFOs. That is going to be through FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. They're going to have to disclose about metamaterial. I always say just look up element 115 on the periodic table to see how that's even changed over the last 25 years. But we're going to have knowledge of, are we alone in the universe? I'm hoping that the government will finally admit that we do have something, because again, in 150 years, you don't go from the wagon wheel to this type of technology unless you've reverse engineered something. And that's just logic telling me that. So I think we're in for some interesting things this year. I think we're going to continue to see physics and science and spiritualism continue to grow. In fact, in my mind's eye, I always think of Ray Bradbury, who was the storyteller and the writer of Star Trek. And after he passed, it was confirmed that he was a seer. He was a futurist. And a lot of the stuff that he has written about back in the late 50s, early 60s was science fiction. A lot of that has turned into science fact. And as we move forward, I can see these watershed moments where science continues to discover new forces that add to our existing knowledge of what we already are aware of. But I do see in the future that we will have better ways to connect with those that have transferred over. Because if you think in terms of, energy and frequency and vibration, what Nikola Tesla talked about and taught about and theorized about, when you adjust your frequencies, I always say find your frequency. When you adjust your frequency, you can start to tune into different connections, including with your loved ones, your fur babies, people that have passed over. Bruce Lipton talks about, what quantum physics teaches us is that everything we thought was physical is not physical. Let me say that again. What quantum physics teaches us is that everything we thought was physical is not physical. Some would say, we're living in a hologram. I'm starting to wonder if The Matrix was a documentary, not a movie. So there's just a lot of cool stuff out there to explore and discover and to go after. The ego, I find, is very impatient because its time is limited here in this hemisphere. The spirit is patience because it knows it's eternal, because death is not the end. It's just another adventure. And so this morning, I hope that you will research something that you may not know of, or go after, do some prospecting of your own to find some knowledge and maybe some transformations for your journey, or some healing, whatever you're dealing with. Again, because we're going through some amazing transformation times, awakening, if you will. And it's just fun to see science really come out and discover this fifth force, if you will, that we already are aware of. So they always say, when you get goosebumps after hearing something you resonate with, and you know what your molecules recrystallizing, raising your frequency, that's what goosebumps do. So if you have an interest in something, go research it, go find it, go, get into the science of it, get into the metaphysics of it, get into the pseudoscience of it, because pseudoscience is a big part of what I do as well. And that's the struggle and the balance I'm always trying to find is the pseudoscience is you can't prove it, but you can't disprove it either. It's kind of like love. When you say you love somebody, somebody will say, well, prove it. How do you prove love? Love is a feeling, love is an emotion. And so that's what I love about spiritualism. That's what I love about being a spiritualist, is being able to continue to explore and not be limited or bound by, some religions can have some dogmas and controls, but there's many great religions out there. There's a lot of great knowledge in different scriptures, from Krishna to Buddha to Jesus. So I always say, explore and go out of your comfort zone, because when you go out of your comfort zone, Joseph Campbell reminds us, the cave you fear to search usually holds the treasure you're seeking. So go out there, seek, go out there and explore, bring science along with you, especially if you're into spiritualism or doing, psychic readings or mediumship or healing or life coaching, transformative coaching, whatever that is for your journey, and bring science along with it, and let them, be in collaboration with one another. The scientific method, I use a scientific method in a lot of the work I do, and try to disprove stuff, only to find that I can't disprove some of this stuff, and that there is truth and reality to this. So again, we're one people, we're one planet. Let's start working together. Let's start coming together, the great coming together that I've talked about since last year, so we can move into self-mastery, sustainability, homeostasis, which is that balance, because the world and the society is really out of balance. We're very divided, and we know that, if you're divided, then things don't usually go very well. So that's today's show, spirituality and physics. And again, spirituality usually knows what physics is yet to catch up to. And this morning, it was just really cool to see this announcement, that scientists have found evidence that could rewrite the way we understand the fundamental laws governing physics, at least as we know them today. Because when you start to rewrite physics and the laws of physics, what that does is that opens up new theories and new hypotheses and new creative projects, including like how we explore through space, going faster than the speed of light, all sorts of different fun, cool stuff. So, there's a lot of books out there, faith versus fact, why science and religion are incompatible. But over the last 10 years, and as a spiritualist, I actually see them working together more. And it's really cool to see. So, what was I going to say here? So don't listen to the person who has the answers. Listen to the person who has the questions. And that's the quote I was going to finish up from Albert Einstein. Don't listen to the person who has all the answers. Listen to the person who has all the questions, because that's where you really start to explore and discover through mind, body, and spirit. And again, we'll get ready for the Healing Cafe. I'm going to go touch up my coffee just in a second here. But I hope that you're having a good day. Happy Monday to you. I hope that you're staying safe, properly informed. We are starting to turn this corner of this COVID. My heart and my thoughts and prayers go out to anybody impacted, family, friends, our frontline workers, our supply chain workers, everybody that has kept us going this last year. But also get out into the sun. We're psychologists are talking about the pandemic wall. Some people are hitting the pandemic wall, and we find that more people have more depression and anxiety and suicide thoughts after something, especially after a year, and you start to come out and you start to reemerge, and that's what we're doing. I said by May and June in this summer, we'll really start to see a big change with where we're going. But for anybody that is having a rough go, and again, some of these trying times that we've gone through, I always recommend, I offer up the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK, or 8255. That's the number, Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's free, it's confidential, it's always available. You can help a loved one, a friend, or yourself. So I always offer that up. It's also online at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. So again, we are emerging, but remember, the caterpillar emerges from the cocoon after a great struggle, but it's only the struggle within the cocoon that allows the wings to be sharpened, and eventually this butterfly is going to emerge. And that's what we're going to see with society. That's what we're going to see with our planet. We're going to see this great coming together, and because the alternative is not worth going down if we're not going to come together. So work on science, work on the laws of physics, work on quantum physics. If you don't understand those, research them more, because they have a lot to do with what we do as spiritualists and the work that we do between the left hemisphere of the brain, the right hemisphere of the brain, the energy of who we are as a people. And remember, you're an energy and a soul and a spirit first, coming here to have a physical experience. And again, I'm starting to wonder if The Matrix was really a documentary, but to learn and to grow and to transform in all of that you do. So again, if you want to learn more about me, you can find me at marclainhart.com. I'll be on the air this Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern through the internet, Om Times Radio. Links are over at the site, where we'll be having a really more spiritual conversation with my guest. And again, you can now find us through Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Podbean. There's a whole bunch of channels that Inspired Living Radio has been picked up. So I hope that you'll check out that free podcast, and head over to Insight Timer, get my latest meditation, Pathways to Self-Healing, if you're having a rough go. So it's been a pleasure hanging out with you this morning. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. Thanks for hanging out on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. And I'll see you next Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, dare to dream, dare to live, dare to explore, and discover that diamond within. Have a great rest of your week, people.